This is how Peter from Compounding Quality screens for high-quality stocks. Revenue growth, 7% or higher. Earnings growth, 9% or higher. Net debt to EBITDA, less than 3 times. Return on invested capital, 15% or higher. Profit margin, more than 10%. Operating cash flow to net income, 90% or higher. Here are 10 of his favorites. Apple. iPhone maker Apple still generates most of its revenue from hardware, but its services business now accounts for 38% of gross profit and is growing. Return on invested capital, 25%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 8%. Market capitalization, $3.4 trillion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 27.8 times. Microsoft. There's perhaps no company more ingrained in businesses worldwide than Microsoft. From productivity solutions to cloud services, Microsoft provides mission-critical software. Return on invested capital, 24%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 11%. Market capitalization, $3.2 trillion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 30 times. Meta Platforms. Global leader in social media, Meta uses artificial intelligence across its apps like Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp to deliver relevant content to users and connect advertisers with the target audience. Return on invested capital, 33%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 32%. Market capitalization, $1.3 trillion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 20.6 times. Visa. Largest payments network globally. They help facilitate payments all over the globe between its vast merchant network and more than 4 billion cardholders. Return on invested capital, 19%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 11%. Market capitalization, $524 billion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 21.5 times. MasterCard. Second largest payment network globally. MasterCard helps process transactions between merchants and customers all around the globe. Return on invested capital, 43%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 12%. Market capitalization, $429 billion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 28 times. Adobe. Adobe is a creative software maker that sells subscriptions to a range of products including Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, and much more. Return on invested capital, 37%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 14%. Market capitalization, $245 billion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 32.6 times. Hermes. Ultra-luxury designer of accessories and other merchandise. Hermes is most known for its Birkin bags, which start at around $10,000. Return on invested capital, 37%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 14%. Market capitalization, $228 billion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 34.3 times. Accenture. One of the largest consulting businesses in the United States, serves customers across many industries, including financial services, communications, healthcare, and more. Return on invested capital, 28%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 8%. Market capitalization, $208 billion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 20 times. Intuit. Intuit sells financial management and tax reporting software to consumers, small businesses, and accounting professionals globally. It is most recognized for its Intuit TurboTax product. Return on invested capital, 22%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 14%. Market capitalization, $182 billion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 47.3 times. S&P Global. S&P provides credit ratings, benchmarks, analytics, and workflow solutions to capital markets customers. Return on invested capital, 21%. 10-year revenue compound annual growth rate, 11%. Market capitalization, $154 billion. Enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, 34.3 times.